I'm here with Sarah Sivits, an Extension Educator for Nebraska. Now, Sarah, what are some of the issues that farmers are seeing as they're starting to plant this year with recent flooding?
Some of the major things that they're probably finding in their fields where they had extreme flooding is you're going to see damage out there. So getting out and assessing that damage first and foremost, seeing where some spots washed out, maybe where they had excess residue or debris that was brought in, buckets, pesticide containers, things that just ended up in the ditches and then came along with it. Sand, especially for some of those areas where they are along rivers, streams, things like that, a lot of sand and other silt, different soil particles have been brought in. And so that's going to definitely be a concern for those producers in making certain that they get out there, find where those problems areas are at, and write it down, because that's really going to follow them through the rest of the growing season.
Now, is there anything these farmers can do to help kind of as they're going into planting?
In terms of going into planting, record keeping is important, absolutely, because you're going to see that not only affect your crop this year, but probably in the following few years until things really get sorted out. Soil testing may have to be something that, unfortunately, they'll have to do it again, so that way they know they're in the right zones.
For those farmers who have spent decades making sure the nutrients in their soil were perfect, what does that mean to have this floodwater kind of come and ruin that?
Well, when you talk about, water erosion, that's really important when we talk about these floods, because it does take away some of those nutrients. And if they had some fertilizer that was put on in the fall, maybe that has somewhat leached out a little bit.
Long term, how do you think this will affect the season in general?
It depends. Like I said, if guys get out there and compaction occurs because it's too wet when they get out there, you're going to see maybe some stunted plants. I don't know if diseases could be an issue this year with flooding. It brings in a lot of stuff. One thing that's really a concern among the weed scientists are different weed seeds that were brought in on these flood waters. You might have some waters that from the north brought in northern seeds. You never know what you're going to find in your fields this year.
Going to change maybe even some seed selection and what acres of what you're going to put where, and are you going to go with maybe a short season crop somewhere and some of those kinds of things?
It's very possible that seed selection, for the people that haven't done it yet because they're kind of waiting, it may be possible they may switch to a shorter season crop. They might switch to a different crop completely. It depends on how soon they're able to get into that field, if there's compaction issues, what kind of crops we need to be looking at.
We'll get a look at our Grow Weather Outlook next, and later meet our Farm Family of the Month.
Go for it.
I'm Drake Johnson from the Holdridge FFA chapter, and I love FFA.